Let's do it.
Powered by Riverside FM.
Powered by Riverside.
Unconventional Playbook is back on the air. Again, like and subscribe. Thanks to all of you that have hit that like button and that have subscribed so far. Close to 2,000 subscribers since May 4th, 2024. So we're growing this thing. Really, really appreciate it. You know, I put the call out yesterday that we're going to have some people just, put in the comments some ideas, send me some emails, and we've gotten a few of those. So we're gonna take questions today, and I'm going to try to answer some questions and just give you my point of view on some topics out there that you may be wondering about, may be wondering what I think about some of the topics that you just shot out to me. So I really, really appreciate that. If you take the time out of your day to shoot me some topics, you can be well assured that we're going to answer it. Before we get to that, Minnesota Timberwolves tonight, Minneapolis, stand up. I know I've been critical of the Wolves. I just want for those guys to win so bad. I just want for the city of Minneapolis to win so bad that, I get really frustrated when the guys don't perform up to their capabilities, and I feel like they have not been doing that lately, but tonight can be different. Tonight can be different. It's going to be an environment downtown Minneapolis that the Denver Nuggets have never quite seen before. Our backs are up against the wall. We got to do it. Big Cat's got to show up. Anthony Edwards has to show up. I haven't received word whether or not Mike Conley is going to play. But hopefully Mike Conley gets out there. And Rudy Gobert, the defensive player of the year. Come on, man. Come on, Rudy. Show up tonight. Make that impenetrable wall. Get some blocks. Make it tough on Jokic. You can do it, man. You can do it. Hopefully the Timberwolves can force a Game 7 and head back to Denver this weekend. So, questions came in. We're going to try to answer some of those questions today. And hopefully we'll continue to get the response, because I think it's fantastic when I have an opportunity to engage with some of the you peers out there. So I'm really, really excited. The first question that I thought would be a really good one, this doesn't have to be topics about the NFL or the NBA. It's just sports topics in general. I'm going to do the best to give my opinion on some of those. First one was, Lionel, what do you think the importance is of sports in school education? Well, I know Phi Ed has always been looked at as that easy A class. Whenever you go to parent-teacher conferences, like the Phi Ed teacher rarely ever gets anybody to come over to talk to him or her, because it's always been looked at as it's just gym, it's just activity. But number one, it promotes health and fitness. So I think that's fantastic. It promotes collaboration. Some of the things that you do, at least the curriculum that I remember when I was in Phi Ed, and I've actually taught Phi Ed before, there's a lot of collaboration between students, teamwork, communication, encouragement. All those things are fantastic. So that should be, all those elements should be a part of your school curriculum anyway. So I think that the importance of sports in school should not be overlooked. What would your school look like if you didn't have Phi Ed? If you didn't have extracurricular activities? If you didn't have sports? Just imagine what your local middle school would look like. Just imagine what your high school would look like, what that would do for your communities. I think it would be a huge void. So as much as people try to diss sports in school and try to act like it's not important, it's actually the glue that holds all the school environments together. It's the one place where kids get an opportunity to be challenged, compete, and work together. So in terms of sports in school education, it definitely should be something that is paramount in going forward and should be a part of the curriculum. Destiny from Alabama, thank you for that question. Steve, in New York, is there gender bias in sports? Of course there is. Of course there is. Everything is unequal when it comes to male and female sports. I just happen to coach a female sport. I'm a college women's basketball coach, and I definitely see the inequities there. That's why it's such a big deal with what Caitlin Clark did this past March. The women's basketball tournament actually surpassed the men for the first time. That's a big deal. That's a big deal. The revenue that's being generated in the beginning of the season for the WNBA, that's never happened before. There's always gender bias. The game of basketball is pure. You take a basketball and you take this orange round thing and put it through a red circle thing that has a net on it. But how there's gender bias is look at the WNBA basketball. Why can't it just be an orange ball? Why does it have to be a tri-colored ball? Because the WNBA and the NBA, they have to be different. They have to show that, hey, the men's sport is different than the women's sport. And it actually is just the same sport. Gender bias. The salaries in the WNBA. And yes, I understand supply and demand, basically. There's more of a demand for the NBA right now. I mean, you can go to various NBA venues and those games are sold out. The advertisement is huge. Bigger name, bigger stars than the WNBA. I get it. But when you look at those salaries, there is a dramatic difference between what NBA players are making and what WNBA players are making. And a lot of it stems just from the popularity of the sport and the way it's funded. Now, I think that's all about to change. The stars in the WNBA are starting to ramp up. I think the big thing about the WNBA, what's going on there, is that their stars, their characters have a chance to attach themselves to a fan base because they're not leaving college early. That's a huge thing. So those fans gets a chance to engage with their athletes. They're promoting them and advertising them a little bit better on their campus and nationally. I mean, look at Caitlin Clark and Dawn Staley. I mean, it's absolutely unbelievable. So the sport is starting to grow. And I don't think the WNBA is going to have to worry about popularity going forward. Juju Watkins is coming up. There's a lot of different rivalries. LSU, South Carolina, now in the NCAA. That's going to permeate and spill over into the WNBA. So I think there's going to be areas of sports that are going to get better, especially on the female side, in particular when it comes to the NBA and the WNBA. Thomas, whether or not all-star games have outlived their youthfulness. I would get rid of all all-star games. I mean, the NBA all-star game this past year was absolutely ridiculous. I mean, what was the score? 700 to 650? Nobody's playing defense anymore. All you're doing is risking injury. It's just a dunk contest. Who can throw the fanciest passes? I remember when I was coming up watching the All-Star game as a 10-year-old kid. And those games were battles. Those guys had a chance to play with some of the best players in the world. And they actually wanted to win those games. Those games are really important. They wanted to show each other up. They were competitive. Now we're in the era where guys are worried about getting injured. You can see it throughout the NBA during the regular season when you have load management. I mean, you have guys that don't want to play 82 games. Like, they've got it written in their contract that they don't want to play on back-to-back nights. They want to play maybe 60 games a year. And I just think that's bad for the league. Number one, you have ticket-paying customers that in some conferences, if you're an Eastern Conference team and you live in a Western Conference state, you've got one shot to see your favorite player. And if you buy your ticket that may cost you $250 to $300, and that player decides to sit out that night without warning, you're not getting a refund. You just miss out on seeing your favorite player. And in some cases, those players don't travel with the team, and those players don't sit on the bench, so you don't get a chance to see your favorite player at all. So I think there's something that has to be corrected in the NBA as far as that is concerned with the load management. But the All-Star games, the NFL All-Star game is terrible as well. I mean, they went from not even trying to tackle each other to now flag football, which actually I think is a pretty good product, to be honest with you. As long as we know it's flag football and not supposed to be tackle football, and you're just tagging each other and kind of holding each other and laying each other on the ground, I think that's okay if we know it's flag football. I think actually that's a good product. But when you look at the NHL, you look at baseball. Baseball is probably the only major sport all-star game that's pretty similar to the game that you see during the course of the year during the baseball season. I mean, those guys are out there competing. Those guys are out there wanting to win. They have something at stake. So if I have to give Major League Baseball some kudos, is keeping their all-star game pretty decently competitive. I can't say that about the other major sports. I mean, it's just it's a free-for-all. Guys aren't trying. It's just a showcase to see who can dunk and who can throw the longest pass. And I mean, it's just not competitive. So to answer your question, I think the All-Star games have outlived its time. I mean, I would actually get rid of them. I mean, you can name guys to All-Star teams and not play the games. It's a waste of time. Michelle, how's the new NCAA rules on paying college athletes working out? Well, it's the Wild Wild West. You've got players leaving great situations at college. I've seen multiple players who are starting in basketball, playing about 30 minutes a game, have a big role on their team. Their team is successful. They get along with their head coach. They get along with their assistant coach. And they want to leave for NIL. It used to be people were transferring when they didn't get their playing time, or maybe the situation wasn't what they thought it was going to be when the coaching staff was recruiting them. But now you got players leaving places for more money. This generation of student athletes, and I'm around them every day, it's tough. Like, honestly, I can't blame someone for making more money. I can't blame that. I'm not paying their bills. And I also see the right in being able to make money off your image. Like I see thousands upon thousands people when I walk into a football stadium wearing the jersey of the players that are on the field risking injury. And some of those players come from homes where they're living check to check. And the university is making money, millions upon millions of dollars off these players. So I can't say NIL is bad and you shouldn't want the money. I can't say that. But at the same time, two things can be true. It's definitely hurting the sport. From year to year, you don't know who's going to be leaving your team, who's going to be staying. Can you build a relationship or an emotional attachment to that team? I don't know. It's going to be tough. Now you have players in bowl games. It's really funny how these things start to evolve. You have players in bowl games now that are sitting out bowl games. I'm a big Ohio State fan. Ohio State last year was one of the best teams in the country. They went to a good bowl game. And Marvin Harrison Jr., who was going to be top 5 in the draft, decided that he didn't want to play. The year before, it was Jackson Smith and Jigba. Ohio State was in the college football playoffs, and he didn't want to play. Like, the age of these student athletes now, it's just different. It's the wild, wild west. Transferring, not wanting to play, NIL. I do feel like players deserve to make money off their image. But, again, two things can be true at the same time. I'm not quite sure how to relegate it, what the answers are. But I know everyone involved needs to get to the table and figure it out. Because college football and this NIL stuff and basketball and all the other sports intercollegiately can't keep going this way. It's a system that's going to be set up for failure if someone doesn't get to the table and try to change it and try to regulate this. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. So those are just some of the few questions that I thought I would answer today. I really appreciate you guys sending those in. We still want suggestions for topics. We're going to designate a show to someone that has the best topic out there. We're going to designate a whole show and talk about your topic and give you kudos that day when we read your topic on air and talk about it. So keep sending those things in. Just keep sending them in. Minnesota Timberwolves, let's get it done tonight. Let's get it done. Like, you have no excuses. Show some heart. You can do this. Anthony Edwards, Big Cat, Rudy Gobert, you can do this tonight. For the rest of UP Nation, again, thank you for all of your support. We're going to continue to pump out great content, have a lot of great topics that are coming up in the next week that we want to talk about. Really appreciate your time, really appreciate your support. We're going to continue to do our thing. This has been Undercover Playbook. I'm your host, Lionel Jones. And again, thanks for tuning in.
Powered by Riverside.